I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater. I do thoroughly enjoy this show, but for a series about a submarine dedicated to scientific missions, we seem to do a lot of monster, alien, and ghost stories. I don't know if this qualifies as a Monster of the Week episode, mainly because if it is, Richard Basehart is the monster.
Now that's where it came from. And it was a moaning sound like, well, like somebody was dying or something.
And it came from there, huh?
That's right. Okay, so you think I flipped?
No, he thinks what we have here is a combination of air rushing through the ducts and creating sound, coupled with Kowalski's overactive imagination.
Ski, wait for me.
That is some talented rushing air. Captain Crane doesn't have an explanation, but he wants to stay informed about any more weird noises.
More of those reports?
Hey, Chip, how long have we been running submerged this cruise?
This is our 4th day submerged, our 24th day at sea. Why, sir?
I wonder if the crew isn't getting edgy. Maybe they need shore leave.
They always need shore leave. They'll be okay.
Chip has a point, but Kowalski has something on his sonar screen, some kind of surface vessel where there shouldn't be one. It isn't answering radio calls. Let's take a look.
Take a look.
Okay, who's been painting pictures on the periscope lens? It's really there. May as well surface and see if they can make contact by semaphore.
Thanks. I don't know how that square rigger will react to us. We just stand by to take us down in a hurry if we have to duck.
We'll be ready.
All right. Take us down fast.
Or not. Black powder cannonballs can't do any damage, but the impacts are making a bit of a mess. Admiral Nelson is in his cabin wanting to know what's going on.
What's going on down there? What did we hit?
Nothing, Admiral. Something hit us. We've been attacked by a 200-year-old square rigger.
A 200-year-old. I'll be right down.
His cynicism is at full strength, but not for long. They're all frozen in time. In other words, for them, time is standing still. They don't have any perception that he's wandering around trying to talk to them.
Lee. Lee. What is this? What's going on? Can you hear me?
He finally realized the answer was no, so to fulfill a lifelong dream, he took out his magic marker and drew a mustache on Captain Crane.
Who is it? Where are you?
He's looking for a logical explanation and concluded that he's dreaming. But in the reactor room, he's found something. Admiral, notice that the shadow hasn't moved. That means the guy casting it hasn't moved. If he was a threat to you, don't you think he would have moved by now? Nelson isn't taking any chances, and that anti-radiation foam can serve as a makeshift weapon.
Chief, I don't suppose you can hear me either, huh?
And that's a wrench he's holding, not a gun. And he's still frozen in time, so there was no reason for any of that. Nelson is a little slow on the uptake. But I should offer fair warning, we're going to get a lot more frustrated with him before this is over. He kills a bunch of runtime wandering about the boat, trying to sort out what's happening. Along the way, he trades his foam canister for a pistol, but we have a fair idea that one is going to be about as effective as the other. Let's take a deep dive into Richard Basehart's career. Spoiler, we're going to hear him do a perfect Irish accent today. Accents are a thing he was good at. In fact, he got his first movie role because he was able to do a perfect Scottish brogue. He was so convincing, an actual Scotsman who was on set as an advisor said, "I think I know your clan." He chose his movie roles carefully and was able to avoid any kind of typecasting. He had a rough time in the 50s. His first wife died suddenly of brain cancer, and his second wife left him around 1960. It was at that time that he turned to television and finished out his career primarily on the small screen. In 1971, his third wife Diana and he were on a freeway when they saw a car ahead of them throw a dog out the window at full speed. The dog was killed even though they tried to save it. That triggered something in both of them, and they set up an animal rights organization called Actors and Others for Animals that's still active to this day. His IMDb profile says he never quite got the stardom he deserved. I have to disagree. Irwin Allen made him immortal right here. He died in 1984 from multiple strokes, but I have a feeling he'd be okay with the stardom he achieved, because 60 plus years after the fact, we're still talking about him and his performances.
All right. I've had enough. Who is it? It's a comical picture you make. Standing there, your mouth open.
I have a message for the Admiral. He's not in charge here, even with a gun.
Where are you? Where are you? I warned you. If you don't show yourself, I'll open fire. Look out! Back here!
Told you, he just shot a couple of holes in his cabin. The guy dressed like Doug McClure in Barbary Coast is untouched.
All right, come out into the light where I can look at you.
And look at me, sissy. Are you not afraid of the sight your eyes might behold?
Step out into the light.
You'll be putting away that pistol first.
Nelson has to admit he's a handsome fella. Something about him seems really rugged and manly, if he could just put his finger on it.
Lee. Lee.
Admiral, we thought you were on your way to the control room. Is everything all right?
We'll have to wait to find out who he is, but it's pretty clear he's one of Nelson's ancestors. Suddenly, time starts moving again.
what is all this about being attacked by a 200-year-old square rigger?
Well, I know it sounds strange, Admiral, but that's exactly what happened. Did you find anything, Chip?
There's nothing in the registry list.
You must have missed it. Let me take a look.
No, forget it. You won't find it. There hasn't been a square rigger in commission anywhere for at least a dozen years.
Well, how do you explain the one that fired on us?
Well, I can't yet.
So Crane and Morton are either lying or crazy? If they say it's there, it's there. I think Nelson has some idea now that it's a ghost ship, and its apparent captain is responsible for all the weirdness going on around here.
What happened to you?
That's what I like to know.
Is that some kind of foam all over you?
Yes, sir, it is.
Oh, what happened?
Okay, he's responsible for most of the weirdness going on around here, but he doesn't get credit for that one.
Well, sir, I went to the aft tool locker to get this wrench. I'm walking back in the corridor on my way back here, and next thing I knew, I'm covered with foam.
Oh, where did it come from?
I don't know. I never knew what hit me.
I'm glad Admiral Nelson thinks it's funny. Is he ever going to explain it? Spoiler, no. He's going to leave everyone to wonder how foam appeared spontaneously out of nothing and covered the chief. That seems cruel to me. He mumbles something about a leak in reactor control, but it's pure male cow pies.
Now, that's just one case. We've had a whole series of them. Crewmen hearing strange noises and things like that.
There might be a general case of jitters.
Admiral, it wasn't a case of jitters that fired a broadside and nearly sank us.
Nearly sank us? The cannonballs bounced off. Damage control reported nothing. I've told him 1 billion times not to exaggerate.
Have they made any other hostile moves?
No, but that's probably because they don't carry depth charges. They have no way to reach us.
No, then I fail to see how they can hurt us, can you?
Well, if they attacked us, they might attack an unarmed surface ship and sink it. We've got to do something about it.
All right. Have Sparks send out a general inquiry. See if anyone can give us information about such a ship. If you learn anything, you can call me in my cabin. I'll be waiting there.
It's obvious he knows something, but he's keeping it all to himself, even though there are some important things that the captain of the ship should know. Nelson has a fair idea that he'll meet the ghost again in his cabin, and he's not disappointed.
Sit down, lad. Sit down. Rest your weary bones. We've some talking to do, you and me. That's better now, isn't it? I suppose you'll be asking who I am. Oh, that is a reasonable assumption. It is a proud name I bear, as you'll be the first to admit. I am himself. The Nelson, Captain Seamus O'Hara Nelson, your servant, sir. Ah, yes. Captain Nelson. I have heard of you.
Apparently, the good captain is the stuff of legend in his family's history.
You made a fortune in the China trade, importing tea, wasn't it? Aye. Tea it was. And other heathen objects. What else do you know about me, lad? Well, that you were my wealthiest ancestor, and you died at sea in the year 1822.
He'd rather not talk about that part. He wants to talk to Harriman.
You've more than a bit of salt in your veins, lad, and you got it from nobody strange. Yeah. All right, I love the sea, but you didn't come here to tell me that. And that's a fact. What it came for was you. Me? Oh, what do you mean by that? What I mean what I say. You're coming with me now, away from this ship and onto my own.
Nelson says, thanks for the invite, but I must decline.
Oh, decline, is it? But you have not the right to decline, lad. 'Twas not an invitation I issued. 'Twas a command.
I don't know what it was like in 1822, but in 1978, admirals don't take commands from captains.
You and me, lad. We could live a life the likes of which you never even dreamed of. Bawdy, brawling life would it be. sailing fast on the open sea, with a spanking breeze off our quarter, the sharp salt air in our lungs. And then, every now and again, we'd touch port. And the sparks would fly for fair. The things I could teach you, lad. The things those eyes of yours could see.
Nelson is a scientist, not a sailor. You'll have to go buckle those swashes yourself.
Well, I have work to do here and little enough time to do it. Time, is it? Time. Time is a zero and nothing. I'm offering you immortality. How? By killing me? Well, there would be certain formalities involved. But think of the rewards, lad. I am thinking of them. My answer's still the same.
As a Christian, I do have assurance of eternal life, but not here in this mess. That sounds more like hell.
Take a look at this. She moved. Almost directly overhead, sir.
I don't like this, Chip.
Could be a coincidence. Without detection gear, she'd have no idea where we are.
Maybe so. But who says she's without detection gear?
More depth charges are enough to send them to the bottom, where hopefully they're out of range.
How badly were hurt?
I don't know yet.
Or not, but they are far enough down that the charges won't do any real damage. They'll just make it hard to walk.
I knew there was something phony about that square rigger. She's carrying depth charges.
That's not all she's carrying.
What do you mean?
Oh, but nothing.
Nelson is being a bit of a jerk. If he shared what he knows with Crane between the two of them, they might come up with a strategy. I don't know why he's acting like this.
Missile room, this is the captain.
Missile room I.
Is that you, Chief?
Yes, sir, I'm down here checking the damage.
Are we able to fire missiles?
Yes, sir, the tubes are clear and firing mechanisms are operative.
Good. Load all forward tubes with MS-1s and stand by to fire.
Aye, sir.
What's the matter?
You can't sink that ship?
Why not? It's doing everything it can to sink us.
I didn't say you shouldn't. I said you can't.
With 4 heat-seeking torpedoes, we'll blow it sky high.
Well, don't count on it.
Tell him why. Instead, he stands back while they fire all 4 missiles.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
In a couple of seconds.
2.
Cutting it a little close there, Seamus.
I thought you'd be here. A hard man you are to convince, lad. It is a Nelson trait and a fine one, too, take it for all in all. Well, suppose you tell me what this is all about. What kind of parlor tricks are you playing? Parlor tricks, is it? And you an eyewitness to the greatest phenomenon that any living soul has been privileged to share. Why, lad, this has been the dream of many a lively mind. You're here, watching time stand still.
But there's a problem. Seamus does this stuff to prove he can. Harriman needs a good reason, and showing off doesn't qualify. Seamus repeats his offer of immortality in exchange for an eternity of seafaring adventures.
What about my men? Let them sink to the bottom and forget them. They matter nothing to me, nor will they to you. Once you put your hand in mine.
Then put your hand back in your pocket because you made a big mistake. His men matter more to him than anything of his own, including his life. That statement tells him what he needs to know about your character.
I make you an offer in good faith, and you refuse it as lightly as all that. You'll be regretting this, my lad. Regretting it deeply and with all your heart. All right, I'll regret it. But my decision is final. Is it now? Still and all, you are of my blood. And I can't find it in my heart to destroy you without giving you one last chance to repent and mend your ways.
He's been on the ocean too long. Now he thinks he's John the Baptist. He says, I'll give you 1 hour to change your mind, and then I destroy the lot of you.
Hear the explosion that blows that ship to bits.
I don't hear anything.
4 homing missiles all missed. Everybody except Nelson has a problem with that.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some important work to do and very little time to do it in. Oh, by the way, Lee, you can raise us from the bottom now. We won't be attacked again for a while.
I really want to get in his face right now. Crane wants to know how he knows that, and he's treating his best friend very poorly. Mr. Morton is trying to find out why the torpedoes missed. Chief Sharkey and all their black box equipment verifies that the missiles fired. Everything happened without a hitch. I think I have the answer. Those are homing missiles, so they came home. The Seaview resumes its original course, and that ship is staying right on top of them. Chief Sharkey comes in with some questions about the weirdness going on here, but Nelson turns it back on him and wants to ask him a question.
Suppose someone offered you something that could prove more valuable to you than your wildest dreams, and all you had to do to get it was accept the offer.
Oh?
But, Francis, if you accept the offer, you might be hurting someone. As a matter of fact, hurting practically everyone who means anything to you.
Well, then I just wouldn't do it.
But it's not quite as simple as that. If you refuse, you could be endangering the lives of those very people you didn't want to hurt. Now what then?
So it makes no difference. They get hurt if you do and hurt if you don't. What a deal.
Well, it's kind of different, sir, but,
Go on.
well, maybe this sounds a little corny, but the way I see it, if you felt that taking this thing, whatever it is, wasn't right, then I just wouldn't take it no matter what. A man's got to take a stand someplace, sir.
That's all the Admiral needed to hear. He knew it already, but everybody needs reassurance now and then. No handshake for Seamus.
Oh, by the way, what about that question of yours?
Oh, that's all right, sir. Some other time.
That's a mark of respect. He really would like to ask his question, which is probably something like, do you know what's causing all this? And if so, why aren't you sharing? But he can see that the Admiral has a good bit of his own turmoil going on and doesn't need distractions right now. As we've noted before, he's very protective of his officers. The whole crew is, but the chief has taken it up several notches more than once. Sparks has gotten that confidential reply for the Admiral. Crane decides to deliver it himself and see if he can get a few answers.
The old devil.
What?
Oh, nothing, Lee, nothing.
Admiral, exactly how much do you know about all the things that have been happening to us?
Well, what makes you think I know anything about it?
I don't know. But I'm sure you know more about it than you're telling.
Or do you think I'm engaged in some kind of a plot to destroy us all?
No, of course not. But you do have some information. And for the safety of the ship, I've got to know about it.
He's right. If something happens to the Seaview, the hammer falls on his head. He's responsible for everything, even more than the Admiral is. He needs to know.
Well, I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more, but I can't.
That message is part of it, isn't it? I'd like to see it.
It's a confidential matter.
Can you give me a word that it has nothing to do with the safety of the ship?
No. No, I can't.
This is too much, and Crane is losing patience.
I'm warning you, Admiral. If you're holding back anything that endangers this ship, I'll have to take steps of my own.
I understand. I don't blame you. But I need a little time before you take those steps. Now, believe me, Lee, this is vital.
All right, how much time?
About 10 minutes.
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
He does have the authority to arrest the Admiral. He's done it before. Right now, it sure looks like he has a good reason.
Chip, what was that?
I don't know.
Engine room, this is the captain.
Engine room aye.
Is there, any indication of trouble down there?
Negative, Skipper.
Very well.
We know it's Seamus, and Admiral Nelson knows it's Seamus, and nobody else knows it's Seamus, so Captain Crane will keep calling different areas to get status reports. Hey, it's a way to pass the time, especially since these jolts keep happening. As they get more and more violent, suddenly time freezes again. Guess who's here?
Captain Nelson, you are a fraud. Huh? Fraud, is it? I'll show you the meaning of power, my fine lad. And it's a lesson you won't be liking, I can promise you that. Now, hold on, you've been lying today. All those fine words about 2 seafaring men adventuring around the world. They were lies. Nothing but lies. Lies. Lies indeed. I can crush you with a twist of my hand, and I'll do it. To you or to any man who calls himself a liar.
Nelson holds out the paper and says they were lies, and the proof is right here.
You didn't make your fortune trading tea, you made it trading slaves. And who are you to be sitting in judgment of what men do? Sure, I took my money when I found it, and a fine, fat fortune it was, too. You were the worst kind of scum, Captain. A slave trader.
And an obviously unrepentant one. As long as he made his fortune, who cares what happened to other equally valuable human beings?
And you're paying for it now, aren't you? Doomed to sail the same ocean you disgraced. How dare you talk to me like that? Your own ancestor. A man that offered you his hand in friendship. Friendship? You didn't want my friendship. You wanted a scapegoat. Someone of your own blood. To serve out the rest of your penance so you could find peace after all these years. That's what you needed me for. That and nothing else.
Is all that in that naval report? Seamus admits it's all true. He's defeated and he takes his leave. Oh, by the way, they were right in the middle of a violent shake when Seamus froze them. But that was the end of it. The adventure is finished.
Admiral, is there, something about all this you're not telling me?
Oh, throw him in the brig until he does. Please! He has no reason not to tell the whole story now that Seamus is no longer a threat. So what is up his butt? Richard Basehart blew my doors off with these performances. I wanted to help Seamus pull that string tie a lot tighter, and several times I wanted to grab Admiral Nelson by the lapels, lift him up, and shake him a few times. His behavior doesn't make sense. He knows if there's one person on Earth that he can tell the whole story to, it's Lee Crane. Instead, he is really being a piece of work. I found myself furious at him all episode. That, too, is a mark of an excellent performance. Will Seamus be back? When he departed, he said, some other day. If he does come back, he might think about approaching this a different way. Example, when you come aboard, bring some Guinness. The men aren't allowed to drink it on the boat, but I'll bet they'd appreciate the gesture. All I gotta do is breathe underwater. Breathe underwater. Breathe underwater.